Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Reveal Report. Back here on YouTube, and we're kicking off the weekend with an unbelievable topic I wanted to reach about a moonchild. What is a moonchild, ladies and gentlemen? Many are asking, what does that mean? What's that about? Where does that come from? We're going to dive deep into that and hopefully shine some clarity onto your concerns and questions about what exactly that means, what its occultic nature is all about. It's very interesting, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to get into that. We thank you for joining us this Friday. Please like, subscribe, and share. Again, we appreciate everyone being with us on a Friday. Following this broadcast, we'll be doing a special Q&A live on Patreon with myself and my co-host, Jessie Czebotar. So join us. The link is in the description. Follow us on Telegram, ladies and gentlemen. We do like to post something here and there every week if we find it newsworthy. And of course, you can find us on Twitter at the Reveal Report. So those are our social media platforms. Remember, by liking, sharing, and even commenting helps with the algorithm. It helps get more eyes on what we're trying to do. And we're going to be opening up a broad range of topics here at the Reveal Report, going into summer season. Now we're going into June. A few things I want to touch on we've never touched on before. Aliens. It's a fascinating topic. And we're going to get into that topic and what the meaning is behind it and bring some other guests that can help speak to us and shine some clarity on it and possibly the comparisons that are in the Bible when it comes to aliens. Very interesting stuff, ladies and gentlemen. A couple of authors wrote some books on this stuff, and we're going to talk about that. And ladies and gentlemen, two special guests will be appearing on my Monday broadcast coming up this month, and we'll talk about that just a little bit later today. But without further ado, I do apologize about the red on my face. As you can see, YouTube likes to mess with me. It wasn't this red pre-show, and they like to mess with me, but I'm not going to let them get the better of me. We're going to continue on with the show, and I thank you for joining. Grab your popcorn, grab your favorite snacks. It's going to be an unbelievable hour. And without further ado, please welcome my co-host, Jessie Czebotar. Jessie, how are you today?
Hey, great, George. How are you?
Very good. Thank you for joining us. Friday night, the Reveal Report. Many people, we don't give them that show. They kind of message me, what's going on? What happened? We missed the show. It's like kind of like their thing. That's their Friday nights. They cozy up in front of a computer. It's on their phone.
That's
They're
right.
driving in the car.
I know. I mean, George, you're George TV. That they expect to get George TV every week.
Must see TV. Well, I appreciate that. And ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. Moon children. A moonchild. What is it? Jessie, talk to us. Guide us through this, because this is the thing now. It's been going on for 2 years. It's starting to come to the forefront in the news media, or the alternative media, I should say. What is the meaning? What is a moonchild? Explain that to everybody.
Yeah, we definitely are going to get into that tonight. But I wanted to start. I spent some time this week going over this with Cisco Wheeler. She's one of the original people who brought out about the moonchild rituals. And, both of us were very high level within the Brotherhood system. So this is a ritual that has been going on for centuries for the very high level elite. And it's intricately linked with programming. And it's going to get very interesting because it's also connected with the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
Really?
It is. So hold on, because it's going to be, a pretty interesting discussion. I would just caution, though, I'll give a few minutes here to give a disclaimer. If anybody has children in the room, or, children or people who might not want to hear about some of the dark stuff, you may want to encourage them not to listen to this show. I won't go too dark, but there are a few things that it gets a little graphic for little ears. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there because of the content we're going to discuss. So first, we start off with, this is probably one of the most dark rituals that the system has. And the purpose is basically that, as a child is in the womb, whose bloodline, who's being born into the system for system positions, they want to start to create connections with the demonic and the spirit world. And there's a few things I'll just put out there. The majority of individuals in the system are programmed or go through the program. So this is part of the programming that they do to start connecting people to that spirit world and the demonic spirits. And it's usually done around 7 months when a child's in the womb. And that's when, they'll create the first split inside the womb. And, they, while they're, targeting one child in the womb, they will do a blood sacrifice of a male child, and it's very specific. This male child has to be from the same, DNA bloodline, family line as the child that they want to create the connection to. So they'll choose a male child that's about 11 days old. And one of the mothers of darkness in that same genealogy, she will, and here's a graphic part, she'll take that 11-day-old male that's uncircumcised, and she will dash him against stones or rocks until he is dead. And when they do that, they also will capture the spirit of that child, and they will hold that in captivity. They sedate the mother who's pregnant in a twilight sedation. So that means, she's not fully out. It's more like she's kind of drugged a little bit under heavy narcotics, so she can sense or kind of, she'll get pieces of what's going on, but not have full memory or for full consciousness of the ritual.
Jessie, can
so
I just pause you
go
for
ahead.
one moment, because this is horrendous what you just said, and I'm trying to visualize what you just said. From my understanding now, this infant is born, and when it's born, it's sacrificed, it's killed almost immediately by getting smashed into the rocks. Is that what you're saying?
At 11 days, yes.
So the baby's born, it lasts 11 days. It has to be on the 11th day. And then it's killed. And that's part of that ritual. The baby must be smashed into these rocks or hit with rocks.
Correct. And from my understanding, it does not have to be at the same time that they're, like in my situation, the ritual was performed years before I was even born. So they know that there's going to be a second child. And, they have oracles, prophets who will tell them that there is a second child that they want that's going to be a major part of the system. So, like in my situation, my mom got, we'll just say, had a child before me that she lost. And that child was a male, and I believe was sacrificed in this way. And the concept is a life for a life. So, they will have a family member perform it in advance. And then when that child that they want in the system is born, or even in the womb, when they're performing this ceremony, they will, revert back to that blood of that child that was sacrificed. So some of them, it is day for day if they have, two people in the same family line, where one is, is pregnant with a male child that can be sacrificed. Sometimes they will do it on the same day. And oftentimes they will coordinate pregnancies within the families so that they can do that on the same day.
This is very, man, this is,
It's
I have
tough.
no words. This is hard to believe that they do this. So I'm just trying to picture this and try to paint a picture for everybody. In order for this to work for them, their, ritual style, a child has to be born within the bloodline. So it could be a cousin, an aunt, an uncle, but it has to be within that bloodline, has to be born. And then you said, how long prior does that child have to be born? Is there a particular timeline?
I don't believe there is a particular timeline
Gotcha.
on that.
So
They can call in the, yeah,
someone could be born to that bloodline, could be a year before,
right,
and then they're sacrificed. Is that what it is?
correct.
And then when that other child is born, that child is born, waits 11 days, and then they kill the child or ritualistically on the 11th day. Is that correct?
That's the child that's sacrificed, but the child that's in the womb, this is done at 7 months, so they're still in the womb for 3 more months about before they're born, and that will be where the first demonic connections are made with that child. Yeah, it
So
gets a little heavier, George.
yeah, so
So,
they're trying
yeah,
to connect the child in the womb with these demons. Now, in the occult and the paranormal, this is something that I was not, into in any way. That
mhm,
it's usually adults' full consent when participating in a ritual. You do it of your own free will. Free will is very important and key
right,
in magic. So it's all done through free will. I choose of my own volition
mhm,
to make a pact with a particular demon. I choose to do so on this day, and I will commit whatever, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to get into it because I don't want anyone getting any ideas. However, that being said, what you're saying to me is that they will force upon a spiritual connection to the child.
we're talking 2 different things, consent versus, lineage and familiar spirit. So, what I believe it is that, that family line has made a pact with, certain demonic spirits. And so, what they do is they are making that spirit has, the right or has purchased, has made its deals with the family line so
Okay.
that certain children are dedicated to it. So it's almost like a dedication, and we'll get into a little bit more of it here in a minute. So it's almost like it's dedicated to that spirit,
Okay.
and then the child, grows up like knowing that spirit, but then they still have to finalize that pact by accepting that spirit. If they fight against it or reject it or refuse it, there's problems. So, like in my situation, I refused, all connections to the spirits. And so, those, I didn't have issues with that. Um, but this is part of, they just, from, you think about that as a child in the womb, you know, you just get used to something else being there, something else that may speak to you, may show you visions, dreams. And so that's one of the ways that they start to customize that child's training program, by getting them used to the spirits that are going to be with them. And
Mm.
those spirits then also have the right given by the family, um, where a lot of times they will cause torture to that child in the womb, which causes more dissociation and, causes more of the alters and splits, especially if you have more than one spirit, attacking that child in the womb because they don't even know how to fight it off yet at this point.
This is quite startling and very horrific. Let's continue, but again,
Yeah,
guys, be warned. I mean, we're getting deep into some of this stuff, and even to me, this is new because this was when wasn't I'm not privy to this type of practices on
yeah,
that particular level. It's pretty horrible, and I mean, the child has to fend for itself, and we could only pray that the Lord is somewhat there and try to protect it. But these families, these are not regular people, by the way. I want to make that clear to everybody who's watching this show right now. These people ain't a regular witch doctor family or people that are into like certain types of magic. They're in deep. Are they
yeah,
not just? They're in
yeah.
deep.
As deep as you can go. They're in the, the deep part of the well. So yeah.
Okay.
So now we get to the part, like, kind of more of the purposes of it. You know, I'm trying to think how best to describe this, but we'll just say that, you know, there is the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Um, that is literally located interdimensionally, as well as it can be accessed at several different places here on Earth. So, through portals and spiritual gates, individuals in the occult are able to access that tree of knowledge of good and evil through Emerald City is the most common place where they access it. That's under the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. And that also connects with Hollow Earth. So, that's their biggest place. And then that also has direct connections to the spiritual gate that's in Babylon, but there's two Babylons. So it's both can be accessed at NORAD military base in Colorado, as well as the actual Babylon in the Middle East. So really, this is important because as we start to understand what the system has done to God's creation and how they have really messed with things, um, the sacrifice, is based off of the concept of a life for a life. So they will sacrifice the 11-day-old male child in order to appease the spirits to get life for the child that they want for the system. Now, the key with that life is that they're seeking, that the child be added to the overall system of the beast. And that's what that tree represents is the system of the beast and a life and knowledge without God. We see the symbology of the tree of life in many non-Christian religions, where they worship, that tree. They worship the mother goddess. So this is where this stems from. It's not just made up from all these other religions. This is really, at the heart of the Luciferian Brotherhood. What happens is that I've talked about the grandfather trees before, where they have very big, intricate root systems. The root system is representative, but also connected with the overall programming in the system. So that really is, monarch is the root system of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And what they do is, they throughout time they've been sacrificing all of these male infants, and that blood is literally what the tree lives off of. Like, it doesn't have connections, like they've taken away, removed the connections to the water source. And so literally, the tree survives off of the blood of these infants. And that, Cisco and I can verify that goes back at least to the 40s, but my guess is it goes back even farther to, the Canaanite religions, where it talks about, you'll see different things in scriptures where it talks about when they came into the land and conquered Israel, that the Lord, his anger burned against these other countries because they would, remove the children from the wombs of pregnant women and they would dash them against stones. So, I believe that some of these more ancient Canaanite systems, which is where the Brotherhood came out of, that it goes back to then. So literally this blood, it's what gives life to that tree. And so as they, have the blood of that child in there, it's a life for a life. So they're connecting two spirits, the spirit of the child that's sacrificed, but also the spirit of the child that's in the womb. And so that's how they connect him to the tree of knowledge that program. And this is really, it's a form of Solomonic blood magic at its highest levels. Go ahead if you have questions. We can stop there for a moment.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand when you said blood to the tree. What do you mean by blood for the tree? Is that from the child that sacrificed? The actual blood seeps into the ground, into the roots of these trees?
Yeah, they will have rocks around that tree so that when, they dash the child, then, they will drain the blood after it's, or right around the time that it's died. Their timing on these things is so meticulous. Literally, they will be breathing in the child's last breath as they're draining that blood over the tree.
So these trees, like you say, these are old grandfather trees. So these trees are specific trees. So this ritual must happen at a particular place they're familiar with, a particular tree where they've anointed it in their own way and said, this is the tree.
Yeah, it's similar to the grandfather tree because they consider them living trees because they live off of the blood of those who've been sacrificed. But this ritual is specific. It's only done before the tree of life, or I'm sorry, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So it's only done at that one tree, at one of those spots that I named that are interconnected. Yeah.
And you made reference to the Canaanites. So the Canaanites would perform a similar type of ritual. This is not, or is this a replica of what they did, or is this based on things that they did in their style of magic?
I believe that it's based on things that they did. That's my personal belief about it. Yeah.
Okay. And for those that are new to watching this program, when we refer to, let's say, the Canaanites, we'll do a show on the Canaanite bloodline, who they are, where they came from, to give you guys a background, because a lot of things going on in today's world are based off of Canaanite law, and the Canaanites had a huge influence in evil worship of demigods and so forth. So, yeah, it's bad. But please continue. Just I want to create some clarity so everyone can understand the magnitude. And this isn't recent. This isn't from a witch from the 1600s. We're talking about the Canaanites.
Right.
That's we're going back then. If this is based on that and their particular magical rituals, please continue.
Yeah. So here, there'll be a little bit of. I'll try my best to explain this part, but it's a little bit harder to understand. So, really this goes back to, I believe it was Mengele learned it from high-level occultists in the Brotherhood who were coming out of, Germany, Ukraine areas. But it goes back to certain things that Mengele was doing. George, you and I had found, I'm forgetting the name of the movie right now, but there's a movie about Mengele and his experiments that he would do specifically for soul torture, where he would take twins. He would literally try to bring one of them to the point of death so that their soul was leaving the body, and he would try to get that soul to enter as a second soul into the body of the other twin, so that there were two inhabiting one body, and then, would try to bring demonic spirits into the soul of the empty body. But basically, in this, they're wounding both the physical body as well as the soul or spirit of the child who's in the womb, so the moon child. So Cisco said, this is where they believe that they start to create soul fragments, where there's pieces of the soul left in different places. So, according to her, they will take a fragment of that soul that's broken off, and it literally is linked to this tree. And so, when a survivor is coming out of the system, that's often how, the system will still be able to find them, still be able to track them through demonic trackers, because they can still see or access that individual through their soul. But, what has to be done is that you have to, ask the Lord to, cover you in the blood of Jesus and integrate all of those soul fragments, and so that you're one soul again, and then literally sever your tie to the tree of life that the system has made on your behalf. So that's part of what they believe, and that you have to literally remove those roots out of you. And um she was saying that she believes it only can be done with a spiritual axe. And I reminded her that there's some verses in scripture where it talks about, in Jeremiah, is not our God like a consuming fire and like a hammer that shatters a rock? So, the Spirit of God is able to shatter through everything. So I say that for hope for all those who think they may have gone through something similar, or, maybe struggling with issues with programming, that, the Lord can deliver us. He can bring complete healing to both the damage done to our physical bodies, as well as any damage done to our souls. Um, and many survivors like Cisco and I, who come out of some of the highest levels, we have experienced that healing from the Lord, where He's brought complete healing to our physical bodies and our souls, as we've surrendered to Him and fully repented and come out of that system. So I was trying to see if there was any other last things here.
I just,
I think that's the biggest parts about that ritual that people need to understand.
yeah. I mean, the tree
Yeah.
was key. Its basis and where it comes from. The Canaanites, very key. How it's performed, the dates, the times. Now it's again. I apologize for everybody watching. As you can see, the light changes. I turn completely red. I mean, we're under attack even digitally. These people are garbage because they don't want the
Yeah.
truth to come out. But maybe it's just me. I don't know why they're coming after the light.
Right. Well, it's
The
probably
tree,
because I'm about ready to share, so I wanted to share, like, from my own experience, because,
yeah,
both Cisco and I at different times, we literally had to enter into this place where we were fighting to get out of that system and fully be removed from everything. My fight included some of the things, where I had to go into the courtrooms and the throne rooms of the Lord. I had to bring, literal, we'll just say, documents, and present them before him, and had to divorce myself and everybody in the system that was entrusted under my authority. I had to divorce them, and that included, removing everybody who had a blood covenant with Satan. Those are all null and void because the Lord granted that divorce on behalf of everybody in the system. And then at one point, you know, part of the future rituals that these things prepare for, um, I had to take the wrath of God on behalf of the mothers. As I confessed all the sins of the mothers, the Lord showed me, um, through the generations, the sins that they had performed that, brought on his wrath. And I saw, you know, I'll just say I saw his courtrooms filled with the blood of infants. And, um, the Lord took it all the way back to Jezebel, and that she was the first one that really, had started that, we'll just say that major sin, where she, took her own child's life. and did that as a mockery before the Lord, claiming that she had authority and, autonomy over her own body. And so as I did that, I literally had to stand in the altar of coals and in that fire as the Lord's wrath was coming down. And after I was done, and the Lord, destroyed the books of the mothers that I brought into that coal altars, or altar of coals, um, I had third degree burns on my arms and legs that were spiritual that I felt for 3 days after that. And, that's what it took to completely remove myself from all of those rituals and things that had been done even before I was born. But the Lord cleansed, He removed, He, you know, completely took me out of that system and out of their control. So, it's not saying that every single person has to go through those exact same things. You know, the way has been paved where, the work's been done on behalf of everybody in the system. And now people just need to confess, repent, and turn away from it and, plead the blood of Jesus and know that the Lord, that it's His work, and that He is the one who cleanses us from all sin, all unrighteousness. And all we have to do is receive that, you know. And so I encourage anybody who has been in the system or who is fearful that these rituals may have been done over them, go to the Lord in prayer. Ask Him to show you what, you know, say, Lord, show me what I need to confess. Show me what I need to repent of. And then say, Lord, I receive your sacrifice was enough to cover my sins. And I'm asking you to completely sever me from, anything the enemy set up. Sever me from the roots of that tree of knowledge of good and evil. And I choose life. I choose Jesus Christ.
Let's get into some association with these moon children sacrifices type ordeals. When we were, I shouldn't say we, myself and others are doing what we do in the occult, one of the key figures that would pop up at, many years ago was this guy right here. And this guy was supposedly the one that they were going to push to be that, some might say, the Antichrist, or the one that was going to save the world. He went in to do certain things. He joined a bunch of different sacred groups at the youngest age possible. No one ever at their age got in and initiated into these particular groups. And this particular prince was supposedly going to be the one to usher in this new era. And the era we're talking about is the era in Revelations. So it makes me pose the question, do you think that he possibly might have been a moon child?
I believe that is very possible for him, yes.
That's Prince William, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. And Prince William was one of those that we talked about in many different groups, talks, back and forth. Is that the guy? Is he going to be the guy? But the push was on him. Now, I didn't want to go deep into each particular individual. I just wanted to bring it to the forefront. But what I find amazing, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to give you the information so that you yourself could go and see what I'm talking about. At his wedding, his actual wedding, if you YouTube it or BitChute it or Rumble, there are clips where he had a 3D hologram of a demon ravaging somebody and eating them. This is real. This wasn't tampered or altered with. This was done on purpose. They want you to see this.
Yeah.
And this was at his wedding. Explain to me why any person especially a prince, would have a three-dimensional demon projected, devouring and eating a human life? Do you have any answers to that, Jesse?
Yeah, they wouldn't unless, they're trying to appease spirits or, you know, there's no way you would have that at a party. But we
Mm.
also know things, like I've pointed out that during one of the Christmas ceremonies, I think it was like about 2 years ago, when his oldest son was 5, they put him through some of the exact same training that I went through at that age, where, when I was a kid, they would have us make this big bowl of cookie dough, and they would keep pouring in the ingredients and you had to hand stir it, and you'd get to the point where it was so thick with flour that you literally could not stir it anymore, and that's when they would encourage you with the spoon to start stabbing at it, and that builds up your arms and your muscle endurance for stabbing and ritual. So they did that with bread pudding, and his grandparents, his mom and dad were there watching, and so people can look that up. Look, his son making bread pudding, and you'll
Mhm.
see an exact ritual I went through as a child myself. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to make reference to those in the chat because I don't want to delete you or put you in a timeout. But I specifically ask you, do not mention any political names in this chat. Do not do that, because you bring an algorithm and others watching, and they're watching for that, and you're going to suspend me off my channel. I'm trying to be nice about it. So do not mention any political figures in my chat. Please and thank you. I appreciate that. Let's move on to the next person, ladies and gentlemen, which is this family here. Very controversial on social media, on the internet. A lot of rumors. Again, just rumors. I can't confirm them, of course, but I'll bring it to the forefront. Many say that one of these children is a moon child.
Yeah, I would say, almost 100% yes.
You would think one of them is?
Absolutely. Yep.
Wow. Wow. So that means someone in their family
Yep. Very high
was
level in the system.
was killed, and then one of these children were the ones that they're trying to set up with.
Yep.
By the way, for those who don't know, this is John Legend and Christy Teigen. And you would say that they're very high up in this system.
Yes.
Wow. Another person I want to touch on, ladies and gentlemen, is this guy here. I find this guy very interesting. And for those who don't know, this is Elon Musk. And that's his crazy new wife. Very strange names. They have
Mhm.
some children. I've had problems downloading pictures of the children. I actually even went to the email you sent me, Jess, and I could not download it.
Didn't
In
work? Huh.
StreamYard. It wouldn't work on StreamYard. So,
Wow.
unbelievable. Now, do you think, let's start off, and again, this is all speculation. I don't know for sure, but do you think this woman that he's now married to is possibly a witch?
I think she's much more than a witch.
What do you think? If she's not a witch, do you think she's high up in the system? And if
Yes,
so,
yeah. I
okay,
believe she's a high priestess, yeah.
a high priestess. Okay, now let me ask you this, Jesse. Was she a high priestess prior to meeting Elon Musk and they had a handler that brought them together? Or did she become that after marrying him?
No, I believe it was before.
Wow. Now they have a child together, but rumors speculated that one of the first his children, one of his first children, died, I believe, at 10 days old. I believe
Mhm.
that's what I heard. I don't know if that's to be certain. I'm trying to get all the information I can, but do you know that if that's true?
I believe it is true.
It is true. Wow. So they would try to bring in this moon child, this moon child connected to demons.
possibly on this one.
Now, there is also a rumor, Jesse, in many circles, that Elon Musk himself, personally, was a moon child born on a full moon, and possibly was one of these kids that he was a part of this. What are your thoughts on this?
I believe that's very possible.
And the word is that he, as a child, would play with these spiritual beings. We all have our invisible friends. Well, apparently he had invisible friends as well, but they were demons. What are your
I
thoughts on
haven't exactly heard that rumor, but
that?
it's possible.
His imaginary friends were spirits, demons that he would communicate growing up. Interesting. I will say, not on this show, but politically, the whole story on this Elon Musk guy is not what you hear. It's not truth. That's the truth. He's not who he claims to be. So, for those who want to know more, you can watch the Reveal Report every Mondays. That's more our intel, our news show, where we get into some of that stuff. I don't want to get into
Oh,
that
good.
here.
Are you going to get into it this next week, George? That'd be interesting
I have
discussion.
guests coming. So I'm going to announce that. Let's get into that. Next week, one of our guests is going to be an amazing woman. She's gone through MK Ultra, and I wish I had a picture here to share with everybody because she's phenomenal. And her name is, you'll know, Kathy. And
Yes,
Kathy
he's
is
phenomenal.
phenomenal. She appeared in front of the Senate,
Congress. Yes.
Congress,
Senate. Yep.
Senate, Congress. She wrote a book. She went through MK Ultra. She discussed the type of abuse and those very high up. She drops names.
Mm-hmm.
And
presidential. We'll say presidential names.
she will be on my show next Monday.
Awesome.
And then that's going to be incredible. And then the following Monday is someone that's quite controversial, and but she brings a lot of attention. And we're going to interview her by popular demand. I mean, I get requests every other day. When is she coming back? So we're going to bring back Miss Kim Possible, aka Kimberly Ann Goygan, in 2 weeks. So next week, we have Kathy. The week of that, we have Kim, both on Monday shows, incredible shows. I highly recommend everyone tune in. It's going to be absolutely amazing. And you can watch that here on YouTube. And then the after show will be on Patreon. Next week, Jesse, I'd like to get into the Queen of England. I'd like to talk a little bit about the Queen, her reputation, the conspiracies possibly circulating about her. I don't have confirmation on that, but there's many out there. And then possibly touch on a jubilee that took place just recently.
Yes.
Based on her. This is the mighty Queen Elizabeth. What a transition. I can't believe she lived this many years. You know what I find interesting, Jesse? She doesn't have a lot of wrinkles in her face at her age. Isn't that interesting?
That is very interesting. But boy, we're going to have fun with that discussion because maybe
Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah, maybe it's not really Queen Elizabeth, George.
I mean, it's going to be an interesting show. I'll say that. Moon children, Jesse, horrible. What you said in the beginning of the show. If you're just joining us, please go back. We discuss the rituals that take place, how it's done, how the connection is made. Basically, these children are to be associated with these demonic spirits to create a relationship, sometimes born on a particular day. And I'll go as far as, from what I've learned, Jesse, saying that they're forced that birth on that day. Even if it's not natural, they'll do a C-section. Is that correct?
That is true. Sometimes they will induce or do C-sections, yes.
So that the child is born on that particular day. Ladies and gentlemen, this is, I mean, I can't make it up. I wish I could sit there and write a book and just but I wouldn't have this type of imagination to do these type of things. This is real. This exists. And it's the type of thing we discuss here on the Reveal Report. We bring our guests to try and bring some insight, shed some light on it, to inform you, to let you know what's going on in the real world, what mainstream media won't talk about. Hopefully we can touch on it here on the Reveal Report every Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Jesse, Thank you so much for joining us. A very intriguing conversation. If you
Yeah.
could share with others, where can people see you if they want to see more of Jessie Czebotar?
Absolutely. I'd encourage you to join my Patreon. You also can follow me on several different shows throughout the week. Carmen Studer, Aquarius Rising, South Africa, Solutions with Chantel, and then also on David Zublik, and that's on darkoutpost.tv. You can also see a lot of my former shows on Right On Radio. I would encourage people to go through some of those because I really outline a lot of the things we see currently happening and the back rituals or the different beliefs through the brotherhood system that explain what we see happening today. So
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, I have her information in the description. If you're just joining us, you could click on her and find more about it, Illuminate the Darkness, and you could contribute to her and her ministry on what she tries to do in revealing these type of things and helping you all get through these times. Again, after this show, following, we will be on Patreon doing a Q&A. So if you have some questions for myself or
yeah,
Jessie, feel free to join us.
join us. Bring your
Bring a snack,
M&Ms, bring your snack.
put your feet up, and thank you for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you being here and watching our show on a Friday night. Like, subscribe, and share. And if you'd like to donate to keep this show going, go to paypal.me/George Iceman. Everything helps to keep this show on air, and the information is in the description below. I thank you all for watching. Remember to get outside, get some fresh air, get some vitamin D, raise your vibration, smile, laugh. Enjoy yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, during these times. Don't let them win and bring your negative energy down, all right? Surpass that by giving glory, praise, and thanks to God Almighty. Thanks for watching. See you next week. Good night.